and the deflection the same, right? Hardly even visual.
Correct. Correct.
Then he does the second test with the crash test dummy that you were asked about on direct.
Yes.
The legs being taken off, that wasn't to reconstruct anything, right? He's not a crime scene expert, right?
Correct.
It was just so that the crash test dummy could actually fit between the branch and the ground.
Correct.
So the legs were taken off, and then they were kind of put with the torso of the crash test dummy. Do you remember that?
Correct.
And then it's suspended and it's dropped. And that's called the dynamic test.
Yes.
To see if the branch would still hold if weight just dropped, right?
Correct.
And the weight that was used by the crash test dummy was the same or similar weight of Emily Noble when she was alive.
Yes, ma'am.
And the branch held.
It did.
And the deflection the same, right? Hardly even visual.
Correct.
I want to talk about at some point you or law enforcement branch at your direction reached out to experts at the University of Tennessee.
Yes.
Specifically researchers at what we call the body farm.
That's correct.
And you are aware through your training and experience that the body farm is a place in Tennessee where they being researched just study rates of decay and decomposition.
Of bodies, yes.
Of bodies, of human corpses.
Correct.
In fact, you can donate your corpse.
That's correct.
And researchers study it in the elements or in trunks, and they look at rates of decay and decomposition.
Correct.
So you or an arm of your office reached out to the University of Tennessee and to see if they could look at the scene photos.
Correct.
And make any determinations as to whether or not the remains decomposed in that location.
That's correct.
You would agree with me, and they issued a report.
Yes, they did.
You would agree with me that at no point in time did you or anyone in law enforcement at your direction ask any expert to see if they can determine the length of time that the body had been in that location.
That's correct.
As of today, there is no person, no expert, no lay witness, no police officer that can say with any certainty or even plus or minus the date in which those remains got to that wooded area.
Objection, Your Honor. Call for speculation.
Sure, he can answer if he
can. You lose.
Repeat the question, please.
Sure. You're the lead detective on this case.
Yes, correct.
He told you he didn't even ask. He didn't even look to try to find out how long she'd been out there. He had already admitted to that. So she's just like adding on to that. Also, what he said before was that, oh shit. He said, I forgot. Well, no, don't worry about it. So they don't want you to know how, I mean, oh yeah. No one from Ohio or any of the investigators from Ohio, Schmock did though, and I'll tell you about that in a second, that said anything that made any report or said anything about it being a staged suicide. No evidence was ever produced by the state that was evidence that this is why we think it was staged. They just said it. Then what they did have, because no one from Ohio had the credentials to do something like that. Schmock did. He says he's a crime scene expert. He can come in and evaluate crime scenes. What that is he does car accidents. He does car accidents. He figures out things when people die in car accidents. That's what he does. He just decided that he's a crime scene expert. You should wait until you see what he says. They never say anything about why they think it was staged. Nothing about the ligature, nothing about where she was, nothing. They don't testify and give any evidence at all about why they think it was staged. But they just say it was staged, right? I mean, how could you do that? It's just their case was that weak. If you said, okay, it's staged, why do you think it was staged? They never say a word about it. They don't even fucking mention. All Schmock does is say it was staged, and that's it. That's all. That's all that's needed, for certain juries. But
yeah, people buy it though. People buy it.
If a doctor says, "Hey, it was staged," I'm an expert. The state, we don't lie. We're cops. We're prosecutors. People believe them. But thank God my jury didn't. And you talk to my jury, especially Connie. She's like, they all knew it. They deliberated literally for 20 minutes. They could. Connie says it at the end. I mean, she's around. Connie's around. She's been on this podcast. She'll tell you. They agreed within 20 minutes. The first time they all voted, innocent all around. All those. And there's old people, man. You know what I'm saying? Like old people, and they're like, no, man. And you would think that they would like believe cops. Their story was so awful and shitty that you couldn't. I mean, 80-year-old white dude, you can't convince an 80-year-old white dude that's been pro cop. I mean, Connie we're writing a book right now on her experience about being a juror on this case. It has affected her. She had this view of government. She had this view of law enforcement that was just destroyed because of this case. And it's upset her. She's upset now. A little late in life to be getting fucking pissed off about government, but hey, it's happening. So yeah, it's gonna be really great. We're kind of like co-authoring a book, and she's just a sweet older lady who had that got her view of the world got fucking destroyed by this. And she can't believe that these guys are that dishonest, that they can do things like this. So it's not just me. It's all the people that were involved too,
We've got a few people have crept in now, Mark, just whilst we were discussing how we